for FDIC.
It's the Morning News Express, 8:11 at WFMD. Rise and shine. I'm Ben Adam. Good morning. Let's chat with Delegate Kathy Afzali. Good morning, Delegate Afzali. How are you today?
Well, Bob, I'm doing very well, except if I had any feelings left, they'd be very hurt.
I know. I was looking at something and trying to move things around on the computer to make things work, and I lost my train of thought. It has nothing to do with you. You're a little firecracker, so.
Well, on top of my hurt feelings is my stomach ache from thinking about how I could have eaten spiders last night.
I know. Isn't that gross? Now, of course, if you listen to Tom, who called up and said that was not correct, that somebody did that to find out how gullible we are. Yeah, there's not that many spiders.
I missed that part. I usually sleep with my mouth closed, so hopefully that's my protection.
Yes, generally I open my mouth and insert my foot, so it's not. There's no room for a spider. Let's get right to it because we don't have a whole lot of time, and there's things that are going on down in Annapolis, and I'll do the same thing I said to State Senator David Brinkley earlier. Can you guys put some legislation in that we will not get any snow?
Well, that's probably not going to happen. But when Brinkley said we're not God, I think that perhaps O'Malley might think the opposite. So maybe he's got that bill. I'll have to check into that.
Yeah, that would be nice. All right. So as we talked about, there's some things going on and things that you are involved in. One of the things that I know that you talk about down at the General Assembly, and there's a big issue down there, is Common Core.
Well, Common Core is a huge issue right now, and we just, it's part of a piece of all this stuff going on, which you've been hearing about the MSA testing and the school discipline. And I think what the big picture issue, before I get into the detail, is people's concern about local control. What we want is local control, and I think that's the fear of a lot of people. Basically, what Common Core is, I guess it was almost about 5 years ago, the National Governors Association, which was an approval for Common Core of about 48 states. They came down with a list of standards, and not everybody, but a lot of people thought this was a really great idea. And what the standards essentially did was equalize the states so that every state was being measured by the same degree of standards. So in looking out this seemed like a very good idea. In other words, if you have a kid or your family lives in, say, Alabama, and you're moving to Vermont, and you have a child in 3rd grade and 5th grade, when you get to Vermont, you're going to be right where you left off when you left Alabama. So everybody thought this was a really great idea. So when the other states were implementing Common Core, some of them started to look a little bit closer and were unhappy with it. So many states have pulled out. Now there's about 37, 38 states still left. When Maryland decided to go through Common Core, Maryland put it on steroids and just rammed it through without any vetting, really, by the state legislature. Now, mind you, this was before my term. This was about four or 5 years ago. So it passed through the legislature, but it was never really vetted. And so now what we have is this outcry from parents saying, wait a minute, what the heck is this? And now we've got a situation where, first and foremost, and you've heard that I'm a co-sponsor on Delegate Lupke's bill for the MSA testing, this has been very problematic because the No Child Left Behind Act says that we have to test kids with the MSA testing. The problem is the MSA testing doesn't correlate to the Common Core curriculum.
All right, let me stop you there because we got to take a break. All right, and I know that you can just keep on going, but I got to stop you. We'll take a break. More with Delegate Kathy Afzali coming up on the Morning News Express. Common Core and testing is at the core of our conversation. We'll talk more with her next on the Morning News Express.
Hi, this is Ruth Weddle from Yellow Springs, and it's time to rise and shine with the Morning News Express on 930 WFMD.
821 at WFMD. Let's continue our conversation with Delegate Kathy Afzali, District 4A. And we're talking about testing and Common Core. And I will tell you, and I don't want to, I know I interrupted your statement, but I kind of want to get this question in. And that is, there's a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, who do not like Common Core, who want it taken out of the school systems as soon as possible. Do you fall into that camp?
Well, yeah, I don't like Common Core. The question is the state going to overturn it and take it out? And the answer to that is no. So now what do we do? And that's why I'm calling, because there's a sense of throwing up your hands and saying, what do we do now? There's teachers that I talk to that say, look, we can deal with Common Core and we can like Common Core, but we have had no time to implement this. And then there's other teachers that are saying, we hate it, we want it gone. But being the blue state that we are, Bob, we've got to figure out what to do because the state legislature is not going to overturn it. Our committee, and let me tell you, there's a lot of liberals on my committee, and they're mad about Common Core. They're mad about what's going on because their teachers are coming to them saying, what the heck is going on? We are not prepared for this curriculum. And it was just brought on so quickly. So let me tell you a couple of the myths. First of all, Common Core curriculum is still set by the county. And the reason I'm telling this is that because I know that at least this year our state legislature is not going to overturn it, we've got to figure out how to make lemonade out of lemons. So what we have to do as parents in Frederick County is to be diligent about curriculum. And that means is that you need to read the books, you need to look at what your child is learning, and if you don't like it, you need to make your voice heard.
Well, but hold on, I mean, I interrupt you, but that's what's being done right now. People don't like Common Core. They want it repealed. If I'm not mistaken, there's actually a bill to repeal it, right?
There is a bill to repeal it. It was heard last week, and we had a group. There were people down from Frederick County. And the hearing did not go well. The chair is not going to repeal it. I mean, that bill, I can promise you, is never coming out of the drawer. It's never going to come up for a vote.
So you don't think it'll ever come up for a vote? So I mean, you're not on that committee, right? I'm
on that committee.
Are you going to? How would you vote? Are you going to vote to send it to a vote?
The way that it works in Annapolis is, especially the minority party, we don't have any say in what bills come out and come for a committee vote. So, yeah, would I vote to repeal it? Absolutely. Am I going to have that opportunity? Absolutely not. It's not going to come up for a vote. So we as a community have to figure out what to do, and as a state have to figure out what to do. How do we make this better? And that is we just have to stay diligent. We have to stay diligent with our school board. We have to stay diligent in staying aware. We've got to see if we can advocate for taking out the MSAs, at least for this year. And let me tell you, that's a heavy lift, too, because the MSDE has got their heels dug in. It's going to cost the state about $18 million. They've already committed $18 million to do the MSA testing this year. And now, if we don't do the MSA testing, we can actually get a fine from the feds. I mean, it's like if anyone should be crying 10th Amendment rights, it should be now. I mean, how can the feds impose fines on us for doing something that's best for our children, which is not taking those tests? That's going to be 10 days of instruction time.
All right, and I know and I understand MSAs in these testings, so they just drive me crazy because we now teach to the test and then we don't teach a lot of other things. And it's not the teacher's fault, but that's just the way it is because it all comes down to the almighty dollar. But I want to get back to this Common Core issue because I think Common Core is a travesty and a tragedy that is going to be implemented into our school systems. And I know you. when you first ran, I said, you're the little firecracker. I think that you need to go boom in that committee, and you need to stand up, and you need to look those old curmudgeon men in the faces, and you say, look, this needs to be voted on. The people need their chance to be heard on this issue. And if you don't do it, then we're going to take it to a referendum. I mean, that's what I think I want my delegation to do. I want them to stand up, and I want them to fight the injustice of Common Core.
Well, we do fight. And here's the thing. Legally, you can't take something to referendum unless it's been voted on by the state legislature. That's the only way, according to our Constitution, that you can take something to referendum.
Then shame these old men who have been down there for 150,000 years. Anybody else who wants to, shame them into doing it. That's all.
Well, we do, and we do shame them, and we do as much as we can. But Bob, help me get more conservatives down there. Help us fight the fight down there.
Well, unfortunately, we're doing everything we can on that front. But the ones that we have down there, you need to be loud and you need to be proud. And I really truly believe that I've not found anybody that likes Common Core.
Well, there are people that like Common Core. I mean, our school board likes Common Core. Well, not everyone on our school board, but there's people in the administration that are saying, please don't repeal Common Core. So there's a lot of push and pull with Common Core. There's people who really, really like Common Core. There's teachers who really like Common Core. And then there's teachers who hate Common Core. But the question is, can we get it repealed? And the answer is, they're not going to do it. And Bob, you can say we can fight, we can filibuster, we can stand on the floor, and we can do everything that we can do to stop something. But at the end of the day, they're going to take a vote, and when they take a vote, we get run over with the train.
Well, but then you know what? Then you still need to stand on the tracks, and you got to make sure that they run over you on the train, and then you know, and I hate to say it, and this term, then you become a martyr for and you let everybody know that you got run over by the train.
Well, Bob, you are implying. You're implying that I and my fellow conservatives are not putting up a fight, and that couldn't be further from the truth.
No,
we are putting up fights like you wouldn't believe. What is the issue that we're discussing here is the whole committee structure, which, by the way, there is a bill that I think it's Herb McMillan or actually we tried to put it through the rules and we got shot down. The Republican caucus shot down that every bill needs to come for a committee vote. And that's part of what we're so angry about down here. Every single bill, every 1,500 bills comes through. Every one of those deserves the respect of getting an up or down vote by the committees. And that's the power structure down here that is so frustrating for people like me, is that, you know, whether our chair likes the bill or doesn't like the bill, let people vote on it and let their vote go on record. They vote yes or no, because that's important information. So, yeah, you know, if we want to talk about frustration, we have it down here. Don't think, but I'm not going to allow you to assume that people like me and others down here are not fighting our tails off.
No, I didn't say that you're not fighting. I said you're not fighting loud enough.
Well,
there are avenues that you can use, and I'm not saying just you. I've said this to other people too. You gotta. I mean, you gotta. You know, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and you know, maybe we go to the leadership of the Republican Party or the conservatives that are down there, and you start, you know, saying, hey, look, we've got to stand up. We got to fight a little bit louder and a little bit prouder, and we got to stand in front of these cameras. We got to let the people know what we stand for and what we're fighting for, just like you're doing this morning.
Well, I just think we do. The problem is we do have some Republicans who acquiesce and vote with Democrats a lot, and that's very frustrating. I mean, some Republicans just voted for this bailout for Obamacare. Basically, the Maryland Exchange just got about a $200 million bailout, and some Republicans voted with them, and that's very frustrating.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Very frustrating.
Delegate Afzali, unfortunately, we're out of time. I wish we had more time, but we really don't, and we'll have you on in the future.
Well, I hope so, and don't wait 6 months, Bob Miller.
Don't blame me. Remember, squeaky wheel gets the oil, loud and proud. Stand at my doorstep and say, let me on. That's what you...
Text every week now.
There you go. Thank you, Delegate Afzali. We appreciate it. It's 8:31 at WFMD. You're listening to Free Talk 930.
This is 930 WFMD and WFMD.com.